Hey, good evening, and welcome everyone to Frontline Dispatches on Organizing Upgrade, a show dedicated to spotlighting the most urgent left organizing and activism happening around the country, in your neighborhood, and beyond for racial and economic justice and more. Please stay tuned for future episodes of Frontline Dispatches every Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern, at 6 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Pacific. My name is Montague Simmons, and I will be tonight's host. If you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, please remember to leave your comments in the chats. We'll be monitoring those as the show goes on. And if you have not yet, please give Org Up a like and subscribe to the channel. And finally, to stay up to speed with all the amazing content coming out of Organizing Upgrade, sign up at our website, organizingupgrade.com, to hear about upcoming events, videos, articles, left strategy for organizers, etc. With that said, let's dive into this. Tonight, our guest is Valencia Gunder, or most folks who have actually know and work with her know her as V. Miami native, Valencia is a founder, co-director of both the Smile Trust, formerly known as Make the Homeless Smile, Miami, Atlanta, and also co-founder of the Black Collective and the national organizing lead of the Red, Black, and Green New Deal with the Movement for Black Lives. Valencia has always been a faithful advocate, fighting alongside the residents in her community, and one of the hardest working organizers I know. Hey, V, thank you. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Montega. Thank you for having me here.
No, I'm glad you're able to cut out time. One, like recognizing the fight that you, Black Collective, and other orgs are putting up right now in the face of this horrific legislation that's just coming down. Can you give us a read on what's happening with HB1 and this legislation that's directly attacking protest and our free speech and access to votes?
Right, that's exactly what it is. So HB1, also known as the anti-riot or anti-protest bill that was signed into law Monday morning by the Florida governor. This is a direct attack on our strategy as a movement, our tactics as a movement, our culture as a people. They define a riot as 9 or more people together, and a police officer has the discretion to say it's a riot or not. I don't know about y'all, but at my house, I can have 9 people here eating dinner, or at a barbecue, or at a Sweet 16. Like, I'm just thinking about all the ways that Black and brown folks come together and how this could be harmful to us. And also, this preempts local governments from controlling law enforcement budgets, which is super problematic. And also, it carries a mandatory minimum for protesters that get arrested at protests, 6 months mandatory minimum. And if you are a movement leader, you get charged under the RICO Act, which carries a mandatory minimum of 15 years. So this is a mess, but we're not done yet. We don't care what he signed. We are still fighting. And we have a lot of strategy. We on the ground organizing. Shout out to all the orgs across the state of Florida. I don't want to start naming folks because people are going to get mad if I forget them, but it's some folks that are really throwing down. We are launching canvassing in 7 cities across the state of Florida to educate our people, to teach our folks what's happening, know your rights. And we're going to keep building all the way throughout the summer so people know and understand that, one, don't forget in 2022 when we need to vote again. But also, like, just understand like what this means for you in your daily lives. And I'm just so grateful for like InfraBL and a lot of the other national formations who have been like really leaning in and supporting us in this fight to make sure that our rights stay in place.
Much respect to you and the other organizers that are holding this down. Honestly, like, big respect, because honestly, we're learning from you. We know that what's happening in Florida right now is coming from other states around the country, and especially other sites of uprising around the country. So everybody keep an eye on Organized Black Florida, Dream Defenders, other people that are holding this work. So let's dive into this conversation.
Sure.
Yeah. So honestly, like, when I brought this up to some people, like, on one hand, I get two responses: either excitement or people looking at it sideways, like, okay, Movement for Black Lives is diving into climate work. And I think because a lot of times when we talk about that and acknowledging, like, we're right at Earth Day, most of the organizing side of this, when you see it on camera, you expect to see a certain frame of person who's usually like white, or or a hippie, which we get that label too. So how did you, as a Black woman, like get into climate work? How did you get involved?
Well, it was through disaster, unfortunately. But working here locally, I always quote my grandfather many years ago when I was a child. He always said they're gonna come take Miami, they're gonna come take Liberty City because it doesn't flood. And I'm like, Granddaddy, nobody want Liberty City. I left for college and I came back and they wanted it. And they've been taking it ever since. And I learned about sea level rise. And I learned about elevation and sunny day flooding. And then I understood how it was impacting our housing market and how it was pushing folks out of communities. And then I learned about how they use climate gentrification after storms, after disaster, do land grabs. And we see that in Black communities, under-resourced communities all the time. And ever since I found that information out, I've been like, oh, one, we need to save the earth, right? And we know if we save Black people, we save everybody.
Right.
Right. And we're going to be in a new climate reality if we like it or not. And I wanted to learn as much as possible, to share as much as possible, and educate as many people as possible, but not just educate, right? But also create alternative systems, grassroots disaster relief models for us to be able to help each other. So that's what we do anyway. We are our own first responders. If you look in under-resourced populations, every time it's a disaster, neighbors helping neighbors. Right? Community helping community. The churches open their doors. That's the work. That's the organizing. And it's no big institution gonna be able to come in and serve your community better than you. Right? And we can get it done.
Yeah. Can you lean into that space and talk a little more? Because like unfortunately, like when these incidents hit our communities, like when we talk about the people that are impacted, it's usually our faces, it's Black and brown communities that are impacted. Like this is honestly nothing new for us. Like the movement actually originated directly in the winds in wake of civil rights work. Can you
That's
talk
right.
about history?
That's right. So one, we want to just put it out there that it's no environmental justice movement without the civil rights movement. And we're gonna give shout out to all our ancestors who've been doing this hard work for a long time, and our elders that still been holding this work, land sovereignty work, food justice work, fighting against big oil companies, and fighting against big agriculture. Like this has been aligned with our civil rights, with our Black liberation work since Black people have been doing Black liberation work, right? It has always been a part of our framework. And I often, like when people be like, oh, InfraBL doing climate, InfraBL fights for Black lives. That's what we do, right? And we don't stand up, we're not gonna stand back with anything that's harming Black people. So if that's climate injustice, if that's environmental injustice, if that's patriarchy, we standing up against it, right? We make bold stands, right? We at InfraBL always say if your clean energy includes Black death, it is no solution for us. It's no solution. And disaster. When you look at the community, I always say that climate is a threat multiplier, right? Communities always have stressors, right? Because oppression and white supremacy and capitalism and patriarchy, right? Yes. People already don't have access to a lot of food. People don't have access to safe housing, education opportunities, jobs, water, breathable air. That's already a thing, right? And then a shock hits, right? And a shock is like a hurricane or a wildfire or a uprising. See, people don't think about it like that, right? An uprising is disaster.
That's right.
An uprising, and it's not the people responding to it. It is the government being oppressive and causing a disaster, and that happens all the time. And usually the people who are already oppressed, marginalized, or don't have what they need, they struggle even more when a shock hits them. And of course, it's always going to be our communities because the oppressive system we live in, right? But I always love to see Black people stand up in their power, right, in the time of disaster. And I see it all the time. Like we lean in, and we are the face of the disaster, but we are definitely the face of the solution.
That's right.
And I think like we don't as well, we know the United States ain't gonna never lift us up on that. But as a people, yes, we should identify the disaster, but also uplift our resiliency. We've been surviving climate injustices and environmental injustices for a very, very long time. And we ain't stopping now.
That's right. So when you talked about like some of the things that literally intensify the impact, like one of the things that struck me is like even as you've been building, like we're going to talk about RBG New Deal in a minute, but like the course of 2020, like everybody had to pivot and respond not just to the uprising, but everything in wake of a pandemic. Can you talk about one, like how that's actually related to what's going on with climate, but also like what that meant for the work that everybody had to hold over the last year?
Yeah, so the first time I was educated on pandemics and epidemics was through a climate framework, right? It's unfortunate, but under this changing world, pandemics will become a regular thing. Um, we're going to have to learn to live in this new COVID world, and only the ancestors knows what's coming next, right? Can we fix it as a people? Yes. Will white supremacy fix it? Absolutely not. But we can. So last year, in 2020, when we had to go into quarantine, we realized that a lot of our infrastructure for our communities were lacking, right? People didn't have food. People could not pay their bills. And it's not because they didn't want to, they just couldn't. And a lot of the response was trying to hold the legislators accountable. Like, hey, we need moratoriums. We need this. We need that. We need this and we need that. We ran it down and we pushed on a federal level. A lot of people did work in a state legislature, and also people did a lot of work locally, right? But what was so amazing that grew out of that, all of these mutual aid systems grew out of that, and movement started to become more of a first responder to their community, start to do stewardship directly into their communities. And I think that was in great timing for that deep level of connectivity to help flank each other as we went into the 2020 uprising, right? To see 26 million people take to the street in all of the 50 states of this colonized land was in an uproar. And that's amazing deep work. But this time I felt like as a people, we were way more aligned. Our message was way more aligned. And I feel as if that's why we got way more support when it came to us mobilizing, organizing, and educating our community on these issues. The pandemic is horrible. The way the United States handled the pandemic is horrible. And I always tell people there's a lot of stuff going on in America.
That's right.
But they have time to be killing Black folks in the street, you know? In the pandemic, I can't wait till it's our history, right? I can't wait until that day. But it's a huge thing that has impacted us on a grave scale. I don't think many people thought that they would ever be in this situation. But this is the new earth that we have created. That's what this is. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. And then it snowed in the South. We're going to talk about that later.
That's right. That's right. Hey, if you're joining us either Facebook, YouTube, whatever channel, please feel free to drop comments, drop questions. We are watching. So we want to invite you to actually stand in this conversation with us. And yeah, we got, again, Valencia Gunder is the national organizing lead for the Red, Black, and Green New Deal from the Movement for Black Lives. So let's pivot into this space. Let's talk about it. So honestly, for a number of years now, we've heard folks talk about a Green New Deal. Tell us about the promise of a Red, Black, and Green New Deal. What does that mean?
So one, the fact that we had to create a Red, Black, and Green New Deal. Because a lot of times in climate spaces, environmental justice spaces, Black folks, under-resourced populations are usually left out of these conversations, or they're tokenized. Solutions are not centered, or parts of movements accept false solutions that still lead to Black death. And what InfraBL ain't gonna do is none of that. So the Red, Black, and Green New Deal, one, so people understand when we say RBG, we are talking about Pan-Africanism. We want folks to know we're centering our dead elder, our ancestor Marcus Garvey. We are uplifting our flag as a people. So that's what that means, the red, black, and the green, okay? Because some person thought I was talking about the judge, and I was like, no. No shade, but that's not what we talk about.
Right.
So the RBG New Deal is a national initiative that uses bottom-up organizing, we'll talk about that later, political education, and direct action organizing to advance a radical Black agenda, climate agenda, right? And we will not be sacrificing Black lives. And we will make sure that we target and center Black people in this conversation, in our solutions, right? And then the best thing about it, this is not just for the United States. We're trying to build a global movement where all of our brothers and sisters across the diaspora is going to be amazing. And we are going to use this platform to make sure that we, create Black solutions, that we create federal policy, that we're holding folks accountable on a local level, and then also making sure people know that Black people know climate and environmental justice, and that we do have solutions for ourselves, and we will not waver with anything that will cause us to lose a Black life.
Okay, well, let's dive into it. Like, tell me, when you say this is actually going to be framed based on bottom-up organizing, like, what does that look like for the initiative?
Yeah, so bottom-up organizing, it looks like us going to find all the Black folk across the country who do climate and environmental justice work, right? Okay. So we do have that. We have an amazing working group, and it's all these amazing Black leaders are helping us to build out the Red, Black, and Green New Deal. But it also looks like us working with local organizations, statewide organizations, for them to help us build the RBG New Deal, and also have the RBG New Deal team help flank local orgs on building climate solutions locally. And it's not that we think we have all the answers, but we know that the Black people have all the answers. So we're coming together to build the solutions together. And the bottom up is, we can't do nothing without our community. We can't do nothing without the people who have the community gardens, to the people who are in Flint and Detroit fighting against water. We need our brothers and sisters in Cali who's fighting against wildfires, to our folks in the Gulf South, to our folks up in New York. Like, we need everybody. Our folks in the Midwest who deal with the flooding from the Mississippi River. Like, it's all these things that happen. And we're learning that no matter where we at, Black people are hit the hardest by this. So we are reaching out. And if folks are listening, if you want to get down, hit us up, because it's going to be a good ride.
Can we go in a little deeper? And like, because part of what you mentioned is we're not going to accept solutions that actually continue to harm Black people. And part of like what I've noticed, like specifically like in the Green New Deal and in the way that progressives or Dems tend to talk about climate work, they're often going to the market for solutions. And oftentimes the solutions they're pointing to are stuff that still has impacts directly on our communities. Can you like lift some of that out for the folks that are listening?
Absolutely. So what when we say we're not going to deal with false solutions is, hey, we're going to find this oil company and they're going to put money into the schools, but they still get to burn all this stuff into our air, and we still have to breathe it in. That means that we're going to lose Black lives. We're not doing that. We don't care how many jobs, and don't get it twisted. I know the union's probably like, but clean energy, sorry, not clean energy, because I got to make sure I don't say that. Sustainable solutions include new jobs. That's what it includes, right? We can create jobs that are not harmful to our people, and we can create solutions that are not harmful to our people. We will not sit around here and allow for these companies, these huge corporations that continuously pay a little fine. That's it. And some people say, well, that ain't no little fine. Well, it's little to them. It's pennies to them, right? And our communities never really see it. And then they continue to burn the coal or digging up all of the fossil fuel out of the ground. They fracking, messing up our water, our freshwater systems, building pipelines, and all of these things. The job is not worth it. The job is not worth it. Those fines are not solutions. Solutions like you closing down these oil rigs, but they ain't ready yet, Montague, because they.
Well, let's get them ready. Let's get them ready, because it sounds like part of what we're talking about And I'm sorry, before I even ask the question, again, if you're listening, we encourage you to drop questions in the chat. Share questions or comments about your own experience, what you're seeing where you live around climate and impacts to your community. And that goes back to what I was about to ask. So part of what we've historically seen is we've seen these impacts from Flint to Detroit to East St. Louis to St. Louis. Like where I live, like I know where there's literally nuclear waste from the Manhattan Project that's still on fire. But part of what's happening is they make reforms, but not actually repair. So I'm curious, like the lens that we're taking on it, is it actually offering like real repair and fixes to this?
Yeah. So the RBG New Deal, it was actually birthed in our Vision for Black Lives, right in the framework of the divest invest model. So yes, InfraBL wants to divest from law enforcement. Yes, we believe in defunding the police. And also, we want you to invest in our communities, but we are also bringing in the reinvestment. That's when we talk about reparations, right? That's where the true solution comes in. Not only to repair, but we also want to restore our communities, all the harm that has been done. And that's how we look at our solutions. That's how we're building the Red, Black, and Green New Deal. We want to divest from big oil companies, big coal burning companies, companies that are fracking and messing up our water systems and against pipelines. Also, we want to invest that into the health of our communities to create amazing jobs that do not harm our communities and the employees. And then we also want to reinvest, right? Our reparations is give us the space, the resources, and the time to build us solutions so that we could build a sustainable Black future for Black people.
Hold on. So if I'm an organizer and our audience is primarily like organizers who are actually interested in innovative ways to either interrupt conversations that are going on or literally shed new light, but how do they plug in? How can they actually plug into the conversation and or support the work?
Yeah. Well, tomorrow's a big day for us.
Okay.
Tomorrow's a big day. We go live tomorrow. RBG New Deal will be going live. We will launch tomorrow, April 22nd. You all can check out our website. You can check out our social media handles. You can check out InfraBL social media handles to find out information. Look us up, connect, sign on. We will reach back out. We want to hear from you. We want you to have solutions. And then also folks need to know, even if you don't know climate, even if you don't know environmental justice, we want you anyway, because you still know solutions. And we can help educate you on how these things are harming your community. And then also you can tell us what you need to make solutions, right? So y'all make sure y'all check us out tomorrow. Red, Black, and Green New Deal is a real thing. It is coming tomorrow. And I am so excited. It's been a lot of time of hard work. And we built this for our people, and we want you all to be a part of it.
That's right. No, you and me both. I'm actually geeked. Like I know the initiative has a lot of different pieces, and people are just, I think initially people were just saying, oh, y'all dropping new legislation? No, it's not just legislation, it's a whole project.
That's right.
What else can people look out for? What else is coming?
Yeah, so once you see us popping off tomorrow, look for us again on May 11th. We're having the Black Climate Summit.
Okay.
Yes, we're doing the summit, y'all. And we want you all to join. Tomorrow you'll be able to register for that summit on May 11th. Join us, learn with us, grow with us, teach us something. You know what I'm saying? We don't know it all. We don't know it all. We're not going to act like we do. But we're looking forward to meeting you. And we'll be doing that. We'll be doing a whole bunch of political education on our website. You will be able to get a lot of things. And this is before we even talk about policy. We got to get to our people first. Like the people must pour into it. And that's how we inform our policy platform, right? For the people, by the people. And yeah, that's how we want you to make sure you join in and be a part of the Red, Black, and Green New Deal, because it is for us.
That's right.
For our new reality that we have to live in.
That's right. And like I do want to name, like, the conversation you're inviting folks into is not just one that's domestic. Like you talking to people internationally, you talking to our native siblings as well, especially when we talk about land displacement and impacts. Like, can you share more like the international conversations that I remember you did? What was the COP 20 that happened last year?
COP 20. I think it's COP 21. COP 20.
21, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, it happened last year. We also are prepared to go this upcoming year. I mean, this year, the summit that's coming up. And we are going to be connecting with our brothers and sisters from around the world. And I'm so excited, like, to just be in a space with amazing Black people from around the country. I mean, not the country, around the world, that want to lean in on this conversation about building sustainable Black futures. And yeah, we want you all to lean into that. I'm quite sure pieces of it will be virtual. InfraBL and the Red, Black, and Green New Deal team will definitely lean in if we have any opportunities for folks to be able to participate. And we want to take your solutions with us. That's the thing. Like, tell us what it is that you all need. We can build it into the Red, Black, and Green New Deal, and we can carry it together all over the world.
That's right. Okay, to those of you who are watching, if you enjoyed this video, again, stay up to speed with everything that's coming out of Organizing Upgrade. Sign up at the website to hear about upcoming events, videos, articles, but also, like, following this broadcast, our movement family at the Frontline, which is a product of M4BL's Electoral Justice Project, Working Families Project, and United We Dream, they'll have a broadcast tonight, 8 Eastern, 7 Central, and they're also going to be talking about climate. So please step in the conversation and take part. In addition, like, I want to, again, say thank you to V, because I know how busy you are, to be able to make some time and join us tonight. Any last, marching orders that you want to actually give folks, not only how they plug in, but things they should be thinking about around this issue?
Yeah, I just want people to think through it. Like, we've been dealing with a lot. Yesterday was heavy for Black people. Yesterday was heavy. Watching the verdict, just a few minutes later, a 15-year-old child murdered by the police. And I also want people to know that, like, we have Black people in the Gulf South, in Cancer Alley, who are slowly dying because they don't have breathable air. I want people to know that climate justice is racial justice, and that InfraBL is going to take a strong stance on it. And the front lines is going to take a strong stance on it for us to make sure that we elevate a Black solution, and folks understand that we can build solutions together. We don't have to depend on outside systems to build solutions, and that if we're not going to do anything else, we're going to try to save as many Black lives as possible. And y'all know, when we save Black people, we save everybody.
That's right. That's right. Thank you, V. I'm always inspired by you. Like, when we talk about our visionary leaders, like, you one of the folks that actually come to my mind. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Again, you've joined Organizing Upgrade, and this is I'm still sitting with what she just shared. Like, I don't think folks actually realize the impacts that this is going to have to roll this out. But thank you for joining Frontline Dispatches. It's a product of Organizing Upgrade. We'll be back here every Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Pacific. Have a good night.